Okay, so I am open up to week 1, module 1. And as I said in the Start Here podcast, this is going to be your first place to stop. You're going to want to do the modules in order. This week it's easy because there's only one module in the week. But when we get over to week 2, you'll see you have 2 modules, and you don't want to skip ahead. You want to do module 2 and the work that it entails, and then do module 3. I break them up into modules which are pretty much in line with the chapters of the book, but the modules help make a little more sense in the way that they're grouped and everything. But as we're going to go through this, you're going to see I'm always going to give you a to-do list, and I try to put it in the order that makes the most sense, like what to do first, what to do second, and so forth. But definitely feel free to take the freedom to work at this at your own pace. These are obviously just suggestions. But I give you the to-do list, and so let's go through this. Every item that's on here, you're going to see down below, okay? So I'm always going to give you chapter objectives for each chapter that matches the Serafino and Smith Health Psychology textbook. The objectives are simply meant to help you follow along with the reading and the lecture slides and make sure that you're getting all the key points. You can think of the objectives kind of as a study guide. So before you go ahead and you take your tests, you want to make sure that you've got this down pretty good, that you can explain any one of these questions on your own without looking at your notes. And so some of these are more complex objectives than others. Okay, so in Chapter 1, we're taking a look at the intro to health psych and also its research methods. So we're going to be taking a little dive into the history of health psychology as a subdiscipline or a subfield of psychology. How did it get its start? Where did it come from? What does it entail? What does it involve? And then we'll be taking a look at what health is. How do we define it? Both from a physical standpoint as well as a psychological standpoint and a social standpoint. And that's why I love the textbook that I've selected for the class. It's Biopsychosocial Interactions of Health. So it's looking at health really from multiple perspectives. We'll take a look at how health has been thought of in the past and how we now conceptualize it today. And then that's kind of where the research steps in. We'll look at what types of studies are conducted in health psychology. Some of this is going to piggyback on previous psychology classes you've had, namely intro psych, or even some of the others if you've had like a developmental class. Developmental psych often uses some of the same methodology. For instance, longitudinal studies. In health, we want to know how a person's health is maybe across the lifespan. So are the things that we do when we're young related to the things that we do when we're older? And the things that we do when we're young, does it affect our health later in life? So that would be a longitudinal study. And in developmental psych, they look at a lot of that as well because you're studying development of an individual or individuals over the lifespan. So we'll be looking at experiments, correlational studies, prospective and retrospective studies, as well as the longitudinal research, and then cross-sectional research. As we sort of end the chapter, we'll take more of a look at, where does health psychology fit in the world? Who becomes a health psychologist? Where do they work? What settings? Who do they help? Is health psychology the same as health? If so, why? If not, why? And then we'll be looking at some related fields that kind of often we see going hand in hand with health psychology. Every module I will give you lecture slides. They're not super difficult lecture slides. They're not very detailed. They're meant to kind of be sort of a broad overview. And if I were teaching this in class, I would be spending a longer time on each slide, pretty much explaining what the book covers. When I teach this, I tend to stick pretty closely to the book, which is why this makes for a nice online class, because in online classes you're often doing a lot of the reading on your own, and responsible for a little bit more of the learning process on your own, which is why online classes appeal to some and don't appeal to others. But use these lecture slides as is helpful for you. You might want to print out notes. You can print the PowerPoints as notes, so then you can keep them next to you when you're reading through the chapter and jot down more information. Or again, you can use these objectives, whichever works best for you, but don't feel like you have to do either one. I don't collect this. This isn't an assignment, these objectives. They're just simply for you to be helpful. What I've done is I've posted a PDF of Chapter 1 in the 8th edition, just in case some of you are having a little bit of a delay on your books, like I say, a couple of days or so. This should help you out. It is the 8th edition, so it's not the current one, and I do that for copyright issues, but it should help you out nonetheless if you have a delay with your books. So there's that. And then I did the same thing for the longevity project. I've included the intro as well as Chapter 1 in a PDF for you. Okay. No test this week in Module 1, but you will be having a discussion. So the premise of this class, for the most part, is roughly discussion and exams. And then you do have some videos that you'll be watching and turning in notes for the videos. And that's pretty much it. But these discussions are the crux of the class. I mean, this is where all the meat happens. So once you've thoroughly read through the readings, both the main chapter in Serafino and Smith and then the longevity project, you can then go ahead and dive in on the discussion. All the due dates for the discussion modules are listed in your syllabus, so you want to have that printed out and close by. But pretty much what you're going to be doing is you're going to be reading the intro, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of the Longevity Project book. They're very short chapters, and you're going to be kind of getting a sense of what is this longevity project? Why did it start and why is it important? Once you've read that, most of the chapters have an assessment in them. The first one doesn't appear until Chapter 2. It gives you a questionnaire or an assessment, and it goes along with the topic of the chapter. So in Chapter 2, they're looking at conscientiousness, and that's a personality trait. How does it help or harm us when it comes to our health? So you're going to be reading all about that, and then it's going to give you your own assessment, like how conscientious are you? And it's going to ask you to answer some questions which are embedded in the chapter, and then you're going to score yourself, and it'll tell you how to do that. It'll have instructions. And then what you're going to do is you're going to interpret your score. So you just read the chapter. Based on your score, what would you say about yourself? Are you conscientious? Are you not? What does that mean about you? What does that say about your health? Any other important details that you can think of that you'd want to say? You're going to go ahead and explain that. And then once you're done, you're going to answer the questions that are below this line. Okay? And these are questions that don't have to do with your assessment, because that's the first part. But the second part is just questions about the reading. So anything that you read is fair game for these questions. What do we know about personality and health? Why might it be important to study their association? So why do we care if they're connected or not? And even are they connected? And how? So that's question A. And then question B, we're looking specifically in Chapter 2 at conscientiousness. How is it a good predictor healthier, longer lives. And you're going to be taking a look deep at some of the termites. Those were the participants in the Terman study, which was taken over by Dr. Friedman, but they are the people who were studied and now have been made into a book, The Longevity Project. But you're going to be taking a look at their lives. Some were conscientious, some were not. What did that do for them? And you're going to want to use some examples of the people that are talked about to help explain that. So that's pretty much going to be the setup for every module discussion. Is you're going to be reading the chapter. Usually you'll only have one. This week one, since you don't have a test, I kind of made it a little heavier on the reading there. But normally you'll only have one chapter to read, and again, they're very short. Then you'll be assessing yourself and discussing that in the first part of your discussion. And then in the second part of your discussion, you'll be answering some questions. Now that is all, this all comprises your original post. Okay, so each week you're making an original post. In other words, you're answering these questions. Then once everyone has posted, you're going in and you're taking a look at their posts and you're commenting on their posts. Those are your replies, and you're responsible for 3 replies per week. And your replies really need to be thorough and thoughtful. You want to avoid just, commenting briefly, or, oh, I really liked that. I agree with what you said, or I think that's great. You really want to be thorough. You want to take the discussion further. So if somebody could have said more, what would that be? You say it. You tell them. And of course, we always do so in a courteous manner. The goal isn't to say, oh, well, you missed this or you missed that, but it's to say, oh, that's really interesting. What about this? Or here's something I said, or when I read your post, I thought about this, and it made sense because in the book we read about, and then you say, that's your chance to show off, so to speak, and show me what you know. It's your chance to incorporate the concepts from the readings, and really just make it your own. So I hope that that is clear, but if you have any questions and you're not sure how to do the posts, please let me know. There are guidelines on how to do a discussion board post. I believe I put them in the Start Here menu, so you can look for those. They basically kind of just give you the rundown of what a good post looks like, what it should have in it for it to be considered thorough. Okay, so take a look at that. Maybe I'll actually try to copy and paste it in here into the week one so that you have it here too. So I'll do that for you guys. You can look for that. But that's it. That's week one. Again, as soon as you've kind of like dove in and taken a look at what's there, please let me know if you have any questions sooner rather than later. I'd much rather catch something that's confusing early on rather than have you kind of hang not knowing, okay? And the best way to reach me is via email. It's just swilliams@westfield.ma.edu. And I will do my best to get back to you in a timely manner. Thanks, everyone.